Hi, can you all hear me? All right, since today I'm going to talk about synchronicity, I thought before even I start talking, let us try a small gig. How many of you here have heard of the Mexican wave? Mexican wave? Yeah? So, sir, can you explain? Perfect. So, shall we try it here? Let's start from this side. The first set of people get up, put their hands up, and the moment they sit, the next group stands, and they do it, it follows till this end, and then the wave hits here and comes back to other end. Shall we try? Yeah, let's start. No, let's all of us get ready first before we start. You can sit. So all of you ready here? Yeah. So I'll go with the count of 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. No, you sit and immediately these people start. It should be in sync. So let's go once again. 1, 2, 3. Again, yeah. All right. So what did we experience here? There is something that need to be very specific when we do this. What is that? So what is the point of doing this? What makes a Mexican wave successfully done? Connectivity, organization, then synchronicity. Perfect. So that was the word that I was looking for, and that is the topic what I'm going to speak on as well. So let me start with something that my father used to always tell me. He is a singer. So he used to always tell me that anybody can be taught to sing, or anybody can be taught to play an instrument. But for someone to be a musician, he or she needs inspiration. So the whole idea of my talk today is not to tell you to do A, B, and C to reach synchronicity, but to actually reach synchronicity and be inspired to do that. Because in a typical organization, that is really, really tough. So what is synchronicity? Can we have some mics passed around so that people can answer? So what is synchronicity? Okay, I'll have some incentives for you to answer. I'll give my book. Sorry? Okay, working in tandem. So when you say working in tandem, how does that work in a typical organizational situation? Right. So any other answers? Sorry? Being in the same wavelength. Right. So let me start with telling you a story of what happened. About 5 to 6 years ago, I, along with some of my friends, started to do a workshop series called Synchronicity. So what we did was, we both went to organizations of small and medium sizes, and also some big organizations, and worked with all the departments to understand if they are all in sync. So what happened was, when I went to the marketing department and I asked few people, what do you think is the brand that your company looks like? Right. So, and some of the people said, my company looks like Starbucks. Some of them said, my company looks like Apple. And then there was a list that what my company looks like. And then I asked them, what is that your company aspires to be? Now, where do you want the company's brand to be, and what it needs to be seen as? And then again, I got a list of brands. So then I took this list, I had it with me, and then I walked up to the C-level executives, and then I got another list. What I saw is these two lists are completely contrasting. Right, when somebody says my company looks like Apple, and somebody else says that my company looks like Ashok Leyland. Right, so these are two completely different situations. Why does this happen? Why is this situation happening in an organization, and why is that there is a huge misconnect between these assumptions? Exactly. So the vision is not communicated, and where the organization is headed is not very clear to every one of them. Because I can say this for sure, because when I sat through in one of these situations in a quarterly meeting of an organization, the marketing manager proudly presented a report saying that my company has moved up in market share compared to our competitors by 25%. And then the country manager asked a very important question, which startled all of us. He said, have we grown by brand volume or have we grown by sales volume? Right? So that's an important question. So in your organizations, what do you think is the factor of synchronicity? I understand that all of us here are from small, medium companies. So let's quickly have an understanding of what industry are you people from? Few of them, can you just share? Manufacturing? Apparel? Sorry? IT, okay. Okay. So apparel. So what, how big is your company? Okay. Market throughout India. So can you also share something about your organization as such? If you're looking at global market or if you are looking at just India as a market? So how about manufacturing companies? Are you looking at the global scale? Okay. So for us, what happened is when we started working, we found an important aspect. The reason that all these factors are not communicated is we boil down to a single factor called alignment. So what happens is in the earlier story that I told you regarding marketing, there was one more story I'm going to share that happened with the finance department. I think this is very common. When I go to the finance department and get some information on what the sales numbers are, or what is the revenue that we are currently clocking in, you get a number which is completely contrasting to what you see in sales, right? So the reason is because the sales team always looks by how many deals they have closed in, vis-a-vis a finance or an accounting department will look at what is the revenue that they have received. So this is a major contrast. So I looked at alignment as a factor, and we saw that people are not in the same page. So what do we do? The first factor that came to my mind was communicating this across all departments. Somebody said communication is not right. So let's look at this. Most of the time, we see that communication as a factor is only seen as the language and the language prowess. To me, the communication factor is how importantly and how clearly do you communicate something and how well it is received. Let's look at this. What do you think is the most common kind of English used in large global companies? When you look at a company like SAP or when you look at a company like Shell, what is the kind of English they speak? Is it Cambridge English? Is it US English? What kind of English is that? Sorry? Business English? Okay. German English? Okay. But what it turns out is the most effective medium of communication has been bad English. Because when you talk to a guy, some guy from Korea, all you need to communicate is only with certain keywords. If you are asking for water, and if you say that, can you please get me some water, that is not going to be communicated. It's just water, right? So that's how it all works. So I've also seen that when it comes to organizations, all the entire strategy execution cycle starts from top to bottom, and that communication doesn't happen this way. Can some of you share? Do we have people from different domains, marketing, finance, other domains, or do we have only people that run companies? All right. So what department do you run, sir? Management consultancy. Right. So what do you think is lacking today when it comes to communication?
Understanding about the business itself. So
right.
There is no proper understanding about what they are exactly doing. So it has to percolate from top management level to the bottommost level in the pyramid.
Right.
So that is not happening.
Right. So are there any functional experts? Anyone from finance?
I'm a finance person also.
Okay.
I'm a chartered accountant.
Okay. Okay. Someone else wanted to share.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from the finance side, or what do you see is the most important missing link when it comes to communication?
Correct. As Sir mentioned, since I'm in the same industry, it's the vision, as somebody told in the beginning.
Right.
Vision of the organization and the objectives which the organization is expected.
Right.
Which is not communicated properly.
Right. So what I'm thinking is that, as all of you said, the whole point is the functional goals are not arising out of the organizational goals, right? So what happened is one of my friends gave me a call and he told me that he's really interested in digital marketing and he wants to really explore the PPC and the SEO side of things. And he asked me, and he told me that my company is not doing this. And that really kind of makes me bored. I'm looking for a job that really excites me with these areas. But when we discussed, we understood that the company was actually not in that frame where they cater to that segment. What is more important is to understand what is the kind of market that you're catering to, right? So if it doesn't matter whether you're going the digital route or whether you're going the traditional route, what actually matters is where your audience actually is. So the most important factor is about synchronicity with the CEO and the C-suite and your customers and what is working today for you in reality. So the important factor is that today it's no more that the CEOs are looking for that 1% increase in revenue with lot of brand exposure or with lot of the entire market has moved away from brand visibility per se, and they are moving into a section of ROI all the time. Especially when it comes to smaller organizations, it is my CEO personally asked me this. Once he wanted to run a banner ad. We are a company that are into enterprise performance management softwares, and we are also into business intelligence. So he asked me that why don't we run a banner ad and to compete against Tableau because they are present in certain sites. So then I asked him, are we looking for brand visibility online? Because we are not a highly content-driven company traditionally. So are we looking at this? Because that particular ad talks about reports and it drives people towards multiple contents. And then he said, no, I'm looking at driving leads and getting more revenue and creating more opportunities. So then we decided, let's not put up ads, let's rather invest more into the PPC side of things, and let's invest more into the SEO side of things. So that's when to me it struck that I need to really go down and dig deep and understand how an organization typically works. And I thought I should connect with various people globally and interview each and every one of them. And that's when I decided to write this book called Is Your Marketing in Sync or Syncing? So that's when I realized by talking to several people that each and every organization is looking at marketing very, very differently. One of my friends in Netherlands who runs a company called LAM, he's a Chief Innovation Officer of the company. He told me that going forward, he envisions that there is going to be no established C-suite roles at all. He says there are going to be no specialized CEOs or CMOs or CFOs because everybody is expected to pitch in each other's areas. And it's going to be more or less working like how a startup typically works, but in larger scale. So when it comes to startups, he also told me that the most important aspect that is missing today in startups is that to build something that is scalable. So when you build a product, or when you many a times we get into companies and it is our it becomes our role to start promoting it. Now, not often we do get a chance to think if this is a product that the market will want. So if you're starting something fresh, this is a point. But when you're already into the market, what do you do? So if you're already running a company and if you're looking to expand, what do you think? How do you go about doing that? So if for example you're looking at India as a market and you think I'm going to go global, what is the first step that you take? Okay. Okay. Establish a network. Okay. Anything else?
You're present in this field.
So what are the platforms that you would ideally take?
Yeah.
Sorry? Online? Right. So when you expand, is it more often like I'm looking at expanding to a particular country, or are you looking at catering globally?
It depends on the product.
Right. I think, okay, can you give me an example, sir? Because I think almost every product can be targeted globally because, more often than not, it is human everywhere. The needs are the same, right? It is only certain aspects that make you connect with them better. So we can always find local resources, we can connect with people. So why is that, we often only look at few countries and not on a global scale when we even start? Interestingly, I was talking with a friend here and we had the same discussion. Let's look at some very simple products like Angry Bird, right? So the company started and they developed about 5 to 6 apps, the gaming apps, which really didn't take off. And then suddenly they decided, right, okay, let me try with one more product and see how it goes. And then that really took off, and the game was for free, right? So our friend Shiva will tell you the importance of giving a book for free, how to actually gain visibility. That's something that we often don't do in our market. We don't open up our solutions for everyone, and we don't allow them to try, because we think that the first time people come to us, they should see our value and they should be ready to pay. But why should someone pay us if they have not experienced our product, if they have not experienced what we stand for, and if they don't even understand who we are? Because generally I believe that people connect with each other because of not what the product that you serve, because they believe in the same things as you do. So in one of the interesting interviews that Simon Sinek did, he spoke about something called start with why, right? So he says that, he gives a wonderful example about Apple as an organization. He says, if you look at Apple, if they were an ordinary company, they would start talking about 3 things. Generally, any company, when you start explaining what my company does, it's mostly about what you offer. Then, if you are at a level of understanding how you do things, then you explain that how. And rarely we talk about why we do certain things, right? So Apple does this in a completely different way. They have completely reversed the cycle. So he says that when Apple does this, they say, we as a company believe in challenging the status quo of what exists in the market today and start developing things that are in this line of thought. So if you look at it, and then they say that by having this as our motto and having this as our goal, we started developing certain products, and we happen to be really good at computers, phones, and many other things, etc. So if you look at it, what diversity in products they have. One is an iPod. Can you imagine that a company that started as a computer manufacturing system suddenly diverging into an MP3 player, then diverging into completely a phone, and then tablets? They have created markets that never existed before. Tablets as such never existed. Smartphones, yeah, BlackBerry existed in a very small scale, but then the target segment was completely different. So it is all about being in sync with whom you're catering for and why you do certain things. So that's going to be the DNA of my whole conversation.